So, welcome to this week's episode of what I think, well, technically last week's episode of what I think about Mobile Suit Gundam Gquuuuuux, based on the episode 8 of it. So, the episode starts off, it's basically the first half is the rest of essentially the prologue recap of the 1 Year War thingamabob, which I've covered in depth on the very first video I did like this. So obviously, this is just, there is some stuff we missed, and this is Sailor's light gun cannon, right? And then when Char has like he essentially gets contacted by an unknown new type and it's a bunch of rainbow shit before the first like Zeknova thing. There's actually an image of Lala in this, which is like, obviously it's like 1 or 2 frames, so unless you actually like pause it right moment, you're probably not going to notice. So we're sort of like what I like about this is my one complaint about the Kira, as Matthew calls it, is that the sound we're hearing is basically, in my opinion, it's Lala's mind. It's what her mind and thoughts sound like. But because she's actually involved, I mean, she's somehow involved in the Red Gundam, like the Psychommune, communicating through the Psychommune, it's actually her, so it actually kind of makes sense. And it's Sailor right there. And then this is the scene they mention, essentially something's escaped, and they say object, right? Say it's an object. And then it's Rosa Sharon, which is, what should you say is Red Gundam is looking for on Earth is Rosa Sharon. And this is also implying that maybe Rosa Sharon is Lala. Maybe. I guess we might find out later. Right? And then we're on to the actual new content in this episode. So it's basically focused around Neon and what she's doing post essentially joining Zeon, having dinner with Chrysilla. And then basically, what happens, right? So Xavier has a friend. This guy with a gun, pointing a gun at her. So what's essentially happening, there's a group of 4 of them, and the other 2 became pilots, essentially nominated to be pilots on a new mobile suit, a new Gundam, basically. And the other 2 mysteriously died. And it turns out this guy was poisoning them, because when they got the job, he made them a cake that was poisoned. And in the end, I still realized it's like, right, if I eat this cake, I'll die too, right? This is when he pours it again, I don't know. So she basically runs away from escape, or tries to escape. He climbs up as well, and he's there. But then she is essentially able to control the Gundam. So this is the Gundam activating. She's over here, and she's turning it on from the outside, right? And it has like essentially a funnel, right? These pointy bits on its ears are funnels. And then for the very first time ever, we see what happens to a human when they get shot by a beam weapon, right? So it starts off here, you got 1 frame of this, then this. And obviously it explodes the hangar as well. So let's use 1 frame, and unless you pause at the right time, you're not going to see this. Kind of insane when you think about it. But yeah, then after that, they sort of have some discussions about stuff. Basically, so she is essentially the new pilot for that mobile suit. Then there's a discussion about with Xavier about how the Gquuuuuux has escaped from his third, and then you see basically this, which is Matthew going to Earth, which is I think part of the prequel for the next episode. Yeah. The preview for the next episode. So basically the next episode is probably going to be focused on essentially Matthew's time during this time period. And go further. Then we see Char. So Char's alive. He's not in the Red Gundam, he's just alive. So maybe Shuji's just crazy, we don't actually know. And then there's Lala. She's also not in a red Gundam. She's probably on Earth. And yeah, that is the end. So next episode, which will be probably 4 hours after this video releases-ish, around there, we'll be going over Matthew going to Earth and probably meeting Lala, maybe. I guess we'll find out next time. I'm Rogues and Gundam Gquuuuuux. But yeah, thank you for coming, everyone, and leave a comment below if you have anything you'd like to add about interesting things you thought about in the episode, and leave a like as well, and give us a subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time. Normally I'd say next week, but it might be this week. We'll see how onto it we are with the next episode. But thank you for coming, everyone, and I'll see you all next time.